All right, Coach Brett Hefner here. Coach, you finished the regular season at 5-4. What are some of the things that you liked out of this team this year going into the playoffs, but what are some things you would like to improve on?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you always want to get better each week as you go. And I thought the last 2 weeks are about as good as we could have played all year. Still have some room for improvement, but I think this time of year to be playing your best is what's most important. Thought we gave a couple games away during the year, but just kind of thought we were maybe lacking a little confidence, inexperienced in a number of spots, and but I think the last couple of weeks we've really improved and are playing well right now.
Weldon Dustin, your running back, has rushed for nearly 1,500 yards this year. How would you talk about his improvement from last year to this year as a junior now, and how he's been such a big catalyst for this team?
Well, I think not only from last year to this year, I think the other big thing is the improvement this year as it's gone along. And we've seen that with all of our backs. It's just like everything else. The more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So the more carries he gets, the better he's going to get at it, the better feel he's going to have for it, the better vision and tempo and just all those things. Went all the way back to Terrence, from Terrence to Kendall and Logan Brown and Chase Woomer, and then now with him, John Westendorf was the same way. They all love him. They just need more reps. And he didn't get as many reps last year as we would like to have gotten him. Obviously, he's gotten quite a few reps this year and gotten more carries as the year has gone along. The biggest thing that I think shows a lot about his dedication is he stayed pretty healthy for the number of carries that he's had, even though he's not a huge guy in terms of weight. But I just think his vision, he's always run hard, but I think his vision and patience and just more comfortable with each week.
I thought quarterback Gage Gillum, he got better as the weeks went on, but especially against Mount Zion, he ran the ball more. His able to run but also pass has made him a dual threat quarterback. What have you worked with him a lot more this season?
Well, I think the biggest thing, it's the same thing as everybody else, just inexperience, And even though he's been in it, the system for 4 years, you can't replicate game reps. The other thing is, you mentioned his carries against Mount Zion, and it's the same thing, like we don't have a ton of depth behind him and no experience behind him. So we have to pick and choose when we do run him. In that game, he backs against the wall, so which is why he got so many carries last week against Centralia. We didn't have to. This week we probably will, and his ability to run the ball for us is big.
At the tight end position, Hunter Reed has really improved this year as a senior. How vital of a piece has he been? But he complements a lot of that to his teammates. He's a great person in general. How would you describe how vital of a piece he's been this season?
Well, that position's always been big for us, and some of the better ones we've had there are kids that at fullback that we transitioned from tight end to fullback. Jet Gillen was one of them. Those guys that have a natural ability that grew up catching the ball, that grew up doing some blocking, and now we can put them back there. And there's a lot that goes on their plate because there's plays that act like a fullback, there's plays that act like a tight end, there's plays that act like a receiver. The thing that he gives us is the same thing Jet gave us, was it's the equivalent of bouncing in and out of personnel groups without having a substitute. We can line up in 21 personnel with them, 11 personnel with them, 20 personnel with them, which really puts a strain on people defensively without having to substitute, so people can't match your personnel. So that's been the biggest thing.
You mentioned before a couple of tough losses, the Mount Carmel double overtime. Charleston, you had it won, turnovers cost you. What have you learned in those type of games to where when it comes down to the nitty-gritty in playoffs, you know what to expect in those situations?
Well, we say it all the time, learning how to win is very difficult. And when you had we've had a very inexperienced group, a group that not only inexperienced in playing, but just inexperienced. We talk a lot about the view at the front of the line is different from the back of the line. And we've got guys that had to step up to the front of the line and learning how to practice, learning how to attend workouts, learning that you can't miss practice and still expect to play. All of those things, I think, contributed to a couple of those losses. And to learn from those and grow from those and to be where we're at now. Those things, obviously, it's no coincidence that those things haven't been an issue now that we're playing better and winning, and that's just part of it. It's something that you wish you would have learned early in the season, but I think in a way they did, because a couple of those losses, you look at them like you said, and we feel this way. Probably we should be at least 7-2 instead of 5-4. You know, but again, the most important thing is we're playing with a lot of confidence right now, and you know, I certainly don't think we're going to be any fun to play.
So you go to Muhammad, tough loss against a 5A and conference foe, but then you have their back against the wall in Mount Zion. Obviously, game planning for Division I type athletes is tough, and you shut down Braden Trimble to under 100 yards, and you get them again Saturday at 2:30 on Saturday. What is your game plan on their field now? They have the home field advantage. How do you handle that situation?
Well, I don't think the formula to be for us to be successful, it really doesn't change. You know, our ability to win the box on both sides of the ball was the vital part of us winning that game. And that's not going to be any different than this time. It's not like that all of a sudden we can think that we're going to play differently and win. At the end of the day, and it's not just him. Yeah, he's certainly very talented, but they got a number of talented and athletic guys, and you're not going to stop them all. You're not going to, you know, the big thing is you hope to slow them down a little bit. You try and get them to hold on to the ball for half a second longer, and then our four defensive linemen have to win the game, and our offensive linemen, and that was the same way last time.
Wrap up the regular season last week in Centralia. Their quarterback is really good. Their defense isn't as talented as their offense, but how do you feel about going into the postseason, winning that RAC's regular season game, scoring 60 points, I don't care who your opponent is, to get that momentum into playoffs? How key is that for that offense?
Well, I think it was good for us. We needed an output like that where I thought we played pretty well. When we talk to the kids all the time, you know, every game's going to be different. You're going to have games where your defense is playing well, and offensively you're struggling, and offensively you try just not to screw it up and let your defense play. Then you got other weeks like last week where that's a difficult opponent to slow down, and your offense has to match it. You know, and then this week with Mount Zion, it could turn into a completely different game than last time. It may be one where their athletes get loose and we have to score to match them. So it's good for us to know that, okay, we do have the capability to finish drives and score a lot of points when we're not turning the ball over. The big thing we talk about all the time within our program is just being efficient. And if we can end every possession in a kick, whether it's a punt or an extra point, then we're doing pretty well. So when you start giving possessions away with turnovers, that you get yourself in trouble.
So you're guaranteed to have 9 games in the regular season, but you win, you keep moving on in playoffs, you lose, you're done. How does the mentality of a regular season to playoffs change your coaching style?
Well, it really doesn't. Again, I think the big thing is you try and establish everything early, and then by this time of year, you normally it's hard to do, but you try and enjoy it. And from a coaching standpoint, that can be a little difficult because you never want to feel like you're letting off the gas. So I think for us, it really hasn't changed. We've been in playoff mode the last 2 weeks anyway. So for us, this is just another week similar to those.
So you're one of 5 Apollo Conference teams to get into postseason. Want to hit on how important it is for the conference in general?
Well, I think it says a lot about it. I thought this year, I thought the conference was obviously very balanced. I mean, it's still, you know, the last couple of years it started, you know, it stopped with Muhammad. Before that, it was kind of us and Mount Zion battling things out for it. You know, I knew Charleston was going to be much improved. You know, and Matt too was improved. It's just a year where you know, every team in the league can't go on and win. So, you know, I thought it was a very balanced, obviously, especially after Muhammad. You know, it's a situation where every game after that's going to be pretty competitive.
So after Friday night, you know you're in, but who was you thinking you might play? And then when the pairings came out and you played Mount Zion, what's going through your mind?
Yeah, you get to week 8, you have a pretty good idea of who you're going to play. So we had it pegged on Kewanee or Breeze Central, and then as soon as a couple upsets came in, that I knew we're going to slide Benton down and going to slide Greenville down, it was looking more and more like Mount Zion. As soon as Cahokia beat O'Fallon, and there were a couple others up north that upsets a bigger school, so those teams got pushed down. As soon as that happened, I knew I had a pretty good idea about midnight Friday night that it was going to be Mount Zion again, and then that didn't change the next morning either when I saw the projections.
What does it mean to you to be back-to-back in the playoffs 2 years straight?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we look at, you know, you can say 5 out of 8 or 6 out of 9, however you want to look at it. The COVID year we were undefeated and won the conference, so we kind of count that around here. So to be in the playoffs 6 out of 9 years that we've been here, you know, I think speaks to the longevity of what's been established and kind of what the expectation and standard is. You know, and again, just real proud of these guys because our backs were up against the wall for them to fight, scratch and claw, and get that 5th win and get a chance. You know, chance at another game that normally maybe if in most years you're 5-4. You know, you're like last year, you're seeing a Rochester in week 1 where you're, you know, it's super difficult assignment. This is somebody you're familiar with, somebody that you've had a good rivalry with, somebody that you've beaten a couple weeks ago. And, you know, in any sport, it's tough to beat somebody twice, especially somebody as talented as them. But I also think it gives your kids a little bit of confidence in that you're not going in feeling overwhelmed.
Appreciate you taking the time. Good luck on Saturday against Mount Zion. I know a lot of the Hearts Nation will be up there supporting you guys. Good luck to you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.